What's up, guys? M. Jones back in the house again for part 2 of this week's Blu-ray update. I have another whole stack of movies to talk about, which will probably catch me up from the past, I would say, 4 to 5 months of purchasing. Definitely have a lot of movies I want to probably pick up in the next probably 2-3 months. Because I've seen some really awesome movies that are going to be released on Blu-ray. So I'll definitely be picking them up and definitely reviewing the next few months. But let's get to part 2. Okay, so I left you off on a huge stack of movies earlier this week. So let's continue. The first movie I got, again, probably 3 movies I'm going to talk about out of the Blu-rays I have, are the Diamond Edition, the Disney movies. Now, I keep telling you about why I keep getting these Diamond Editions, so I can have them all, collect them all, hopefully, have my kids be able to watch them someday. So the first one I got was 101 Dalmatians. Now, I remember this movie as a little kid, because when I was a kid, my favorite out of all these was Pongo. I love Pongo. I don't have a reason why. I just really liked Pongo. And I wish I had a reason. Don't have a reason. Just love the name Pongo. And I remember I got Pongo, like the stuffed animal, as a little kid on Christmas. I took that thing everywhere, and it always stayed with me when I slept. Again, can't explain it. But I love this movie. I love that it's kind of like the British kind of like version where they have British accents and all that. I really thought that really did a lot for the movie. I will say the transfer from what you would imagine on a VHS to a Blu-ray, I thought it did okay. It wasn't like full screen. I know you could probably make it wider with your settings and stuff on your TV, but I thought they could have done a little better job on the transfer. I have it. I'm happy with it. I'm so glad I bought it because I love this movie. But I thought the transfer could have been a little bit better. But that's just me being probably picky. Maybe not. I don't know. If you got this movie, let me know what you think about that, because I didn't really think the transfer was as good as it probably could have been. Okay? Let me know what you think about that. But just a wonderful movie, nonetheless. Okay. Next one again. I got this movie, obviously for the Diamond Edition reason, and to also collect the Disney ones. I got Alice in the Wonderland. I mean, again, I thought the transfer was pretty good. I think the transfer on this one was a little bit better than 101 Dalmatians. But, this is a classic movie. And you got to have it just because it's part of like the Disney regime. It's such a classic movie. Johnny Depp dabbed in his own version, and obviously if that inspires someone like Rocco, what's up? If it inspires an actor like Johnny Depp to want to be a part of it, then it's obviously a great story. So I had to get this. It's a great movie. Definitely pick it up. It's cheap too, cheaper than most of them are. In the Disney section. So we're going to go directly from Disney to horror and for the next 2. And I had to get this movie because I literally thought this movie I owned on Blu-ray, which I did, and I was wrong. I thought I had it for years and I never did. I had it on DVD. Not that it matters. But I watched this movie so many times in college, and this was always my go-to. If I was having maybe like a friend over, like a girl, if I was just seeing her and something like that. And this was always my go-to. I was always like, yo girl, you want to watch this? And it was Amityville Horror. This was my go-to. This was my thing. This was, because the girls loved Ryan Reynolds and it was scary, so I was always winning. But I absolutely love this movie. I thought it was so terrifying. And, I've really liked... I saw the original one, and I actually like this one a lot better. And I have to say that the girl that played opposite of Ryan Reynolds, her name is Melissa George. I have never seen her in anything else. I don't know if I don't watch a lot of TV, so that could be it. I watch mostly movies. I know she's in the TV show called Alias, but I've never even seen it. So I don't know really much about her, but I can tell you this movie's really freaky. It's just the guy Ryan Reynolds over time just starts changing his ways of life. Don't want to ruin it for you if you have never seen it, but Ryan Reynolds is pretty terrifying. But it's pretty unbelievable. The whole thing unfolds in like 28, 30 days, something like that. It's in how he becomes like demonic and stuff. It's pretty awesome. I loved it. The next one I got, thanks to Staggs Jr. He recommended I get this movie. We were at Best Buy one time just kind of snooping around. He said he really liked this movie, Deliver Us from Evil. And I said, "I never even heard of it." He goes, "Well, it's kind of based on like a true story, actual accounts from a NYPD detective." I was like, "Well, I like that kind of stuff because I like the actual accounts because I feel like okay, then some of it could be real. Like that's pretty sweet." And this movie scared the absolute shit out of me. This was a really good movie. Steggs told me it was really good, and he and I always have, basically the same, I'd say, taste in movies. And I kind of always listen to him whenever he suggests something. So I'm glad he told me because this movie was awesome. Basically, Eric Bana, who was in like Incredible Hulk and stuff in Munich, he is like I guess you would consider him a police officer, like detective kind of thing. He plays. I think his name was Ralph, and he kind of teams up with a priest to try to figure out what's going on with his city because there's all these crimes going down, but they're kind of like supernatural crimes, like exorcist kind of stuff and demons and like. And it's really creepy. It's really creepy. And I really thought it was done really well. I never even heard of this until he told me. And that's a shame because I might never have seen this movie. I loved it. I thought it was really good. And it was very disturbing. Like, just, I don't know. It just was so disturbing. Like, when you're watching it, you're like, oh, like, it's just not that, you're not very comfortable watching this movie. But I don't mean that in a negative unnerving thing. I mean it in, like, a positive unnerving. I don't know if that's an oxymoron, but I do know that this movie was great. So, check it out. Awesome. I loved it. Alright, the next one I had to get was Fury. I wanted this movie so bad just because I remember I saw a different version of it on TV. A friend of mine got me a copy of it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, here's a DVD copy of it." I was like, "Oh cool, I don't care," because he got one of those Blu-ray DVD pack things, and I was like, "Oh okay." So he sent me this DVD. It didn't look like it was a DVD of it at all. It looked like it was like, I think what's that called? I think it was like bootlegged, and the version was terrible. So my buddy sent me this DVD of it. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll watch it. I mean, this was like during when it was in the theaters. And I watched it, and I could hardly see anything on the TV. It was so dark, and I felt like the camera zoomed in. Like, it was awful. And I texted him, like, dude, what did you send me? But anyway, so I had to get it on Blu-ray just so I had it. So I finally watched it, got the full experience, and it was outstanding. I love this movie. I thought it was really, really good. So I definitely suggest you check this movie out. I would definitely probably give this movie a solid. I'd probably give it an A-. I thought it was really good. There's some parts that were wherever. So, but I'd still give it an A-. It was really good. Awesome. So the next movie I saw about 7-8 months ago. Saw it on vacation when I was down in Florida, and I must say, like, I thought this movie was amazing and very, very uncomfortable. But in a good way because I was interested. It was Gone Girl. The movie itself is just. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was a great movie. The whole movie just makes you freaked out by normal looking people. Ben Affleck looked like a normal guy. I'd probably go shoot pool with, drink beer with. Rosamund Pike looked like just a beautiful woman that just real classy. Probably goes to a tennis club. These people look normal, and they're both twisted. And that's what I liked about it. They're just like so. It was so realistic. Like these people could do this kind of stuff, but you would never think it. And the stuff I'm talking about. I don't want to say too much, but it's basically both of them aren't very happy with their marriage. And is someone murdered? Is someone not murdered? Did someone do it that knows about it? Did he do it? Did she do it? Like it's just all over the place. And I thought it was absolutely outstanding. And just amazing movie. And Rosamund Pike, I think, has a massive future. I thought Ben Affleck was actually sort of good. I'm not a huge Ben Affleck fan, but I enjoyed him in this movie for sure. But I must say, I'm really hoping that the writer of the book Gone Girl, and also she wrote the screenplay, which is Gillian Flynn. I read another book by her called Sharp Objects. So I kind of checked this book out a little bit. I got really bored because the book was not as good as the movie, I thought. But the book, Sharp Objects, I actually really liked. And I kind of hope she makes a movie out of it. So we will see. Yeah, I definitely checked this movie out. Awesome movie. I give it a solid A. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And just to go over the other ones real quick, I forgot to give grades on them, sorry. 101 Dalmatians, A. It's a classic. Alice in Wonderland, I'd give it a B+. It's classic. Amityville Horror, give it a B+. And Deliver Us from Evil, I'd give it a solid B. Alright. Sorry about that. I forgot to tell you that. The next one, you know, it was so cheap at Best Buy. I actually got 2 movies. I got buy one, get one free kind of a thing they had at Best Buy for these older movies. And I'll review that other one in a second because I want to go alphabetical order. But I got The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. You know, it's just such a classic. I absolutely love the soundtrack to this. I just love everything about this movie. You know, it's a really long movie, and it's really, really slow at times. But that's how I feel like it is, though, in the Western. Like, and when it was during the Western time, like, I really thought everything was slow. So I thought it was very accurately done. And, you know, anything Clint Eastwood does is just legendary. So I really enjoyed this movie, and I would definitely suggest it if you've never seen it. You know, Clint's just such a badass. But, you know, I give this movie an A. It's amazing. It is long. It is very long. And it's slow. But that's how it is in the West. It's, everything's just do-do-do-do-do. Everything's just really slow. Nothing too crazy. But loved it. Great movie. The next one I got, I didn't want to get it last year during the Oscars. And I mean for, you know, the 2014 Oscars for the 2013 year of movies. I didn't want to get it then because it was like $24.99 for a long time. But I got it for like $7.99. That's Her. I got the Joaquin Phoenix movie about how he slowly but surely falls in love with his cell phone, technically. And it was kind of like the iOS whatever thing through Apple, and it's a voice and stuff like that. And the voice was Scarlett Johansson. I can kind of understand why he fell in love with that voice, because she is pretty great. But it's a different movie. It really is. Like, he's kind of out of place. You know, he kind of is a little awkward and stuff, and he just finds so much like more security, and he's just really happy to, like, I don't know, just talk to somebody. And it happens to be a voice, like a cell phone voice, kind of like a GPS for your life. And he just, like, falls in love with her. And I know it seems weird, like, to tell my parents to watch this movie and to explain kind of like the premise, both of my parents were like, so, like, wait, what? Like, that kind of thing. I'm like, I know, trust me, it's good. And I really liked it. I thought this movie was great. You know, I think it got a lot of negative feedback from people because they just didn't understand, like, what the hell the point of it was. But, like, you know, as technology keeps progressing and keeps evolving, each year, almost maybe each day, I mean, this stuff could happen. Like, it's, you know, it's kind of a futuristic movie in my mind. And, you know, anything Joaquin Phoenix does, I love. So this was an easy movie to like. You know, I thought it was definitely different. I thought it was definitely kind of fresh and new. So that's what I like about movies nowadays, because I think, you know, I've been watching movies for years. I love to see something new. This felt very new to me in the idea, so it's a nice novelty. I give this movie an A-. I thought it was a great movie. I really liked it. Check it out. Alright, just got this movie mailed to me probably about a day or so ago, or 2 days ago, and I had to get it because I remember watching it in my early 20s, and I remember seeing it with friends, and it was just, you know, I really like, at the time I really liked Michael Cera, and I still do, but I think, you know, he first came on the scene with Superbad, like, he was just, I thought he was great as Evan, but then he really hasn't done any more movies that were great. You know, he did that Year One movie. Oh, that was terrible. Then he did that Scotty Pilgrim movie, I think. But he did Nick and Nora's, you know, Infinite Playlist. And, you know, like, he's okay in this movie, but, like, Superbad's really the only movie I like with him. I did think he was hysterical as himself in This Is the End, the movie that came out, like, 2 years ago. That he was amazing in that movie because he's just so coked out of his mind. So, like, I thought that was good. But, like, this movie's pretty good. I watched it again earlier, and I didn't really care for it as much as I did when I watched it in my early 20s. I thought it was just kind of had the Dawson's Creek feel to it, where these young kids know all these humongously big words, and they're too smart for their own good. Like, it's just not comfortable to have a conversation with someone like that. It's just too much power, and I'm like, okay, I can't. And I know some big words, but I can't. So I kind of got tired of that. You know, Kat Dennings always like, you know, yeah, you know. And then Michael Cera is always awkward, just like, like that. And so the movie's just both awkward for both of them, and I really didn't care for it the second time I watched it. I'm glad I have it because I feel like it's a rare movie to find, especially at Best Buy. I've never seen it at Best Buy. I got it off Amazon. So I'm happy that I own it now because I never see it for sale anywhere. But I didn't really care for it the second time around. I give this movie a solid C. I think it could have been a little bit better because a lot of the scenes were just so dead. Except for her friend who played Caroline, who was Ari Grenor. She was funny as hell. But their scenes together are just so awkward. And if that's how it really is, that's fine. But like, I just don't want to watch two awkward people hang out. Like, it's not entertainment to me at all. But anyway, it is what it is. So the next one I got, which was part of the Good, Bad, and the Ugly, buy one get one free, was the Outlaw Josey Wales. Another great movie. It deals with Native Americans and it deals with these cowboys and stuff like that. And it's a good movie. It's long. It's fun to watch. It's over 2 hours. I think it's around 2 hours and like 15 minutes. But it's just another great Western. You have to appreciate for what it is. You have to respect it, and Clint absolutely kills it as like a Western cowboy. So I really enjoyed this movie. It was good. Give that a solid B+. Okay, the next one, I saw this movie in the theaters with my fiance, and I absolutely love this movie. I love the first one, and this one here is the Purge Anarchy. Came out, I think, about a half year ago, maybe more than that. And I saw the first Purge, and a lot of people just kind of shit on it. I was actually kind of like thinking, why? It was actually a really good movie, and I just hope it doesn't elicit like other like things in the country for this stuff to happen. Like, I don't want people to think this is how life is, and they start doing this. Like, I hope this doesn't kind of invoke this kind of stuff around the country, unless it already has. I hope it doesn't. Like, I hope there's just not like an actual purge someday, which is terrifying. But this is the sequel to the original movie, The Purge. Purge Anarchy. I really liked it, and it was so creepy about the couple. Like, they were driving home before the purge, and their car dies like right on the LA expressway, and they have like, I think like half hour, 45 minutes to get home, and there's no way to get home because they ran out of gas or whatever. And the whole story of them trying to get all the way back home on foot is so scary because the time was getting closer to the purge, and some people who were purging already saw them and said, we're watching you. Like, that's just, whoa, that's so scary. This movie's fun. It's very violent. It's very graphic. I mean, it really shows basically everything, and with deals with killing someone. So it's not really for kids for sure, but I really did like it because there is some strong, disturbing violence in this movie, but I liked it because it was so different. But if you're in for a good movie that's a little scary, has a lot of action, this is a good one to watch. Give this movie a solid B, I would say, and only because the acting wasn't very good, but the premise and idea was awesome. So that's why, if the acting was a little better, I'd give it an A easily. But the acting, I thought the acting wasn't very good. So I give it a B. But trust me, go see it. It's probably the best B movie I think I've seen in a long time. The next one's probably my third favorite movie that came out this past year. And I told you my first favorite was Whiplash earlier this week, and also my second favorite was Nightcrawler. My third favorite was St. Vincent. I thought this movie was absolutely outstanding. I love the little kid in this movie. The little kid is right here, right there, and he's just a nice, normal kid in a Catholic school. Kind of gets picked on, and it's only because he's a really nice guy, really nice kid. He's so innocent that he's an easy target. And Bill Murray lives right next to he and his mom, who's Melissa McCarthy. Melissa McCarthy has a really busy job trying to make money a lot, and she can't get home in time to hang out with her son. So he offers to help out. And you learn a lot about him, who he used to be before he became a basic, curmudgeon and very kind of just rude. And you learn a lot about who he was before all this. And, he has like this strange girlfriend who's from another country, and it's played by Naomi Watts, and she did a really cool job as a very like a sexy seamstress, or a very sexy, like, erotic, like, European. But she was kind of funny at the same time, and I just really like this movie. and something about it just made me just like feel really good at the end of the movie. And there is a great ending, I hope you know. So I hope you see this movie. And I have to say, I thought it was a solid A. I mean, I give this movie a solid A without question. If you're not a big Bill Murray fan, this might change you a little bit. I'm not the biggest Bill Murray fan, but I really liked him in this movie. I mean, I absolutely love this movie. Check it out. Such a good movie. Okay. Along with the 101 Dalmatians and Alice in Wonderland, this is the third and final Disney one I've purchased in the past half year. And I must say, you know, it's such a classic to own. I'm so happy to have it. Disney's Tarzan. I mean, you have to have this you have to have this movie. I mean, it's just Tarzan and Jane. It's just such a classic movie. And, you know, in my opinion, I thought the transfer was really good here. I thought it was better than 101 Dalmatians, and I thought it was, you know, right around the lines of like Alice in Wonderland for transfer. But you have to own this. It's such a good movie, and it's fun to watch because it brings me back to my childhood. So definitely get Tarzan. Give this movie a solid B+. Okay, the next one, I definitely have to cover this one. You know, it didn't win Best Picture for the Oscars this year, but I definitely think it was justified by, you know, winning Best Actor for Eddie Redmayne. You know, Theory of Everything. I really thought this was an excellent movie. There's so many things in this movie I didn't know about Stephen Hawking that I'm glad I found out. You know, the biggest thing that I liked about learning more about, you know, Stephen Hawking was the fact that he actually was to be knighted by the Queen of England, and he turned it down. He rejected it. And, like, you want to talk about humble and just, like, you know, just completely thinking with the right head all the time. You know, he was just such like a good guy. He just wanted to, you know, do things in life to make things better and figure out things and prove things and hypothesize. Like, he was just that kind of guy. You know, I thought the movie was really great for that, to basically talk about how he was so intelligent. He never gave up his mind. He always was doing something to keep himself busy. And the fact that he turned down being knighted by the Queen. I thought that was just like, holy shit, that's just amazing. In this movie, you learn a lot about him, though. You learn a lot about, you know, his first wife and how, you know, they kind of, you know, they fell apart and he became romantically linked with his, like, therapist and stuff like that. And it showed how he kind of liked, you know, like nudie magazines and stuff, like things I wouldn't expect Stephen Hawking to be into. Like, I just never thought that. And he kind of had a little bit of perversion in his life. Like, I was interesting too to know that. I would have never guessed that. That's why it was kind of different. But Eddie Redmayne, talk about coming onto the scene pretty hard. You know, I think he won a Golden Globe and a SAG and stuff for this. So, like, it was kind of obvious to me that he was going to win Best Actor. And it was my guess he would win Best Actor, so I'm glad I guessed it. But he was just wonderful in this movie. I'm kind of wondering, though, if he's going to be able to do another movie. It kind of reminds me of, like, Daniel Radcliffe. Like, he's Harry Potter for life. And I see him anything now, I'm like, dude, you're Harry Potter. Like, what are you doing in this other movie? And I see Eddie Redmayne. I'm like, dude, you're Stephen Hawking. Like, what are you doing in this movie? You know, I think it's going to be really difficult for him to move on. And I don't mean, you know, him personally. I'm sure he can move on. But I don't think a lot of the fans and movie addicts can, like, just move on from him being a Stephen Hawking. Like, it's going to be really difficult. Like, when I see Jennifer Aniston, I think Rachel Green from Friends. That's who I think of right away. I don't think of anybody else, any other character. It's always that. So I think that could be a hindrance to Eddie Redmayne here, who's on the bottom. I do see a huge future in Felicity Jones here, who played his first wife. I really liked her. She was outstanding. I see a big future with her. But for Eddie Redmayne, I hope he finds something in Hollywood that works for him. I hope he keeps getting, you know, different roles, and I hope he can turn into like a Heath Ledger, where he does a real serious movie like this, and then he gets really methodical and takes like only certain roles and plays just a huge variety of characters. That would help this guy big time. You know, it would help if he did a Christoph Waltz route and did a lot of villainous movies. And I know I'm talking a lot about this movie and his character, but I really liked his character, and I have a huge heart for people who have ALS. You know, I have a close friend whose father passed away from ALS. So it's just it hit home a lot just because I've seen the damage it does to people with AOS and their family and loved ones and friends. So I just hope he can figure it out in Hollywood to continue being an actor rather than just be always known as this guy, because that could really hinder him for roles. So anyway, this movie, A+. Phenomenal movie. Great movie. The last Blu-ray I want to talk about, and I hate to tell you this, I have a small little stack of DVDs, but it's only because I couldn't hold out any longer for Blu-rays, but I'll talk about that next. So, the last Blu-ray I got was The Untouchables. Kind of about, obviously in the 30s with the Prohibition era with, Elliot Ness, who was, a part of, in Chicago, was a law enforcer trying to stop any kind of illegal libations going through his city. And, obviously Robert De Niro, I think he played Al Capone. I think he put on some serious weight for that movie too, for this movie also. But it's basically Kevin Costner playing Elliot Ness trying to basically enforce the laws of Prohibition. And, it was, I remember Sean Connery played the guy Malone. He was a cop who basically taught, like, Elliot Ness, Kevin Costner, how to basically beat the mob, and take out, like, all the different illegal things that were going on in the city of Chicago, because Al Capone was the huge kingpin there. So it was a good movie. I thought it dragged a little bit, and I also thought Sean Connery winning Best Supporting Actor was pretty good choice. I really liked his role in this movie. I thought he was excellent. A few times whenever Elliot Ness would like get upset, like Kevin Costner would get upset in the movie, he just sounded like Kevin Costner talking in a normal conversation. Like, Kevin Costner doesn't have that huge, boisterous voice that makes you like, whoa, this guy's like intimidating. He would yell in the movie, but he would sound like he's still talking. Like, it didn't really click for me. I think it's a good movie. I like the director Brian De Palma who did this, but I don't think I was overly taken by Kevin Costner's character. I love Sean Connery in this. I love Robert De Niro in this, but honestly, Kevin Costner didn't do much for me for this movie. I give this movie a solid B- just because of that. I think acting's so crucial to being a critic to a movie, and I just think that he was just okay in it. I wasn't so like just amazed by his role. But I did like Sean Connery and Robert De Niro. But definitely see this movie because it is a classic movie. But I thought the acting of Kevin Costner was a little bit lack. So that is my Blu-ray selection. So I have probably about 6 DVDs to talk about. And I know I hate doing DVD stuff and I hate buying DVDs. I feel like I'm going against my grain here, but I don't think these movies will ever go Blu-ray, and you'll see why in a second. These are mostly movies I grew up watching as a kid that were just very B-list actors, but they made great movies as when I was a kid. And the first one I have to tell you about is Kazaam. It's so bad. It is so bad. This movie is absolutely terrible. And I loved it though. Like, Shaq with a script is just dreadful. It's just dreadful. It's just like, oh my god, it's so bad. Like, it's so obvious. And the little kid that plays the boy that he wants to help, his real name's Francis Capra. If you look him up on IMDb, he looks like he's gonna probably slit your throat. Like, he's a little interesting looking guy. And if he's nice, great, but he's terrifying looking. But he was in like a bunch of those movies. I think he was in Free Willy 2. And he was definitely a kid actor. I haven't really seen him in much anything now, but I did look him up, and now he looks terrifying. But the movie it's not a good movie. It's not at all. Like, the acting's horrible. But I just liked it because I watched it so many times in like 4th and 5th grade. And I remember I rented it from like movie merchants and Blockbuster a bunch of times because when I was younger I loved basketball a lot more than I do now. I don't care about basketball at all now. But I just love Shaq, and I thought the movie was fun when I was a kid. I recently watched it again and I was like, oh my god, this is awful. But hey, I have it now. It's probably a really good conversation starter with my buddies that come over. Like, hey man, you remember this movie? You're like, holy shit, yeah. So I got it. It's definitely like, I'm not even gonna grade it. I'm not gonna grade it. The next movie I got, the reason I got this movie is because it was filmed where I'm from, and it was filmed in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I got to meet Ed O'Neill, who's in this movie, Lucky Numbers. It's not a great movie. It's actually kind of like annoying. The movie's actually not that great. And actually, it's kind of an annoying movie to watch. Like, it just kind of pisses you off. But John Travolta and Lisa Kudrow here, as you can see, they're part of a lottery scam, and they kind of fix it to win the lottery, and they hire someone to take their ticket so they don't look obvious. And he's like a newscaster, and she fetches the balls for the lottery thing, and he's just such a slime ball. And when this movie was being made, I was like a freshman in high school. I remember my brother called me and said, "Hey, dude, I don't know what you're doing right now, but like, I'm picking you up because they're filming this movie, and you can meet Phoebe from Friends, and you can meet Al Bundy." I'm like, you had me at Al Bundy. Like, I loved Al Bundy in Married with Children. I don't give a shit about Lisa Kudrow, and I'll tell you a story about her in a second. So I went there, and I saw the scene where Ed O'Neill's character steps on the lottery ball, and he kind of looks at it like this. I saw it actually being filmed, and I saw Nora Ephron saying cut and stuff. She's unfortunately she passed away, but I got to meet her, and I got to meet Ed O'Neill, who was super nice and really cool. And I have to tell you, Lisa Kudrow, huge bitch. She was probably like 5-10 feet away from me, and I just kind of said, "Excuse me, Miss Kudrow, could you get a picture, maybe sign an autograph?" And she was just like this. And then looked away. I'm like, all right, like I'm 14 years old. Like, hook it up a little bit. She was a complete bitch. Did not like her at all. So anyway, the movie's not great, but I bought it because it was because I saw some of the movie being made, and it was so close to home, and that's the reason. Not a great movie though. It's kind of pisses you off. The next one, I wish they would make this a Blu-ray because I hated buying it on DVD. Like, again, I hate buying anything on DVD, but I'm just afraid they're not going to be ever transferred to Blu-ray. But I got Man of the House. Such a good movie. Like, it's actually not a bad movie. It has a great message in it about, giving somebody a chance to fill in as a stepdad. I could imagine what kids go through with divorce. Unfortunately, my parents are together still, happy of almost 38 years. But I've never seen what divorce looks like personally, so I couldn't imagine what struggles little kids go through. But Chevy Chase kind of starts dating his mom, and he's trying to do everything he can to kind of connect with him. So he kind of gets involved with sort of a Boy Scout kind of a thing, and they become buddies because they do like outdoorsy stuff and camp and stuff. And some trials and tribulations happen, and everything just you have to see it. If you've never seen this movie, definitely watch. It's actually a good movie. It's very good. Give it definitely a B+. Acting, a little bit in question. Chevy Chase is not a great actor, but he's very witty and full quips. But he's not an excellent actor. And Jonathan Taylor Thomas is not a great actor either. But they both made a good movie together. So definitely check this out. It's a good family movie, and I thought it was actually really funny. Next movie I got, right on the lines of Kazaam. Just a terrible movie, but I like it and I appreciate it, and it's fun to watch. Is Super Mario Brothers. And was it Bob Hoskins? Yeah, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo and Samantha Mathis and Dennis Hopper, the late Dennis Hopper, and I think the late Bob Hoskins. I think he died too. This movie's not good at all. It's not good. It's loosely based on Super Mario and Luigi. It's very loosely based on that. I wouldn't say very loose. I'd say somewhat loosely based. And it's basically they go in this other world, to be as plumbers. And Koopa is played by Dennis Hopper, and the movie's just weird. And Samantha Mathis is she was in Broken Arrow. She's she's kind of being I would say pursued by Luigi a little bit, who was John Leguizamo, and it's just a very strange movie. But like I watched this so many times as a kid. I remember I taped it and I watched it in my room so many times because I loved Super Mario Brothers as a kid on Nintendo. In Super Nintendo, but it's not a great movie. It's kind of terrible. The CGI is awful, but it's fun if you grew up in the '90s, born '80s. It's fun because I remember this as a kid. So definitely check this out. It's not good. I'd say C- or D, but it's a fun movie to watch. All right, the next one I got was Out Cold. This needs to go Blu-ray because first of all, it's early Zach Galifianakis. And he's just like a hilarious actor. And he's so popular right now. And he's been popular since Hangover. Back in 2000, when was that? 2008? I don't even know. This needs to come Blu-ray. I hate that I have to get it on DVD. It is so funny. There's so many funny parts in this. You know, David Koechner, who always talks like that out of the side of his mouth, he's so funny in this movie. You know, Zach Galifianakis is great in this movie, and it's basically a snowboard movie. They're always snowboarding. They teach all day, then they drink all night, and they party. And there's a love triangle and stuff. And it's just a fun movie to watch. I definitely suggest this movie. I'm gonna honestly give this movie a B+. I thought it was great. I thought the acting was not bad. You know, it's one of the London brothers. I think it was Jason London. He's kind of nuts, but this movie is pretty cool. So check this out. I really loved it. All right, two more. So the next one I got, I remember when I was like, I would say probably anywhere from about 10 to about 18 years old, I was really into like WWF and WCW, and you know I still somewhat watch it, but I really loved like the Stone Cold Steve Austin era, and I loved like The Rock and you know D-Generation X, and then WCW had NWO and the Wolfpack and you know Sting and all that. But Ready to Rumble, I had to get this movie. It was so cheap. It was so cheap online. And I really loved it. And I am not whatsoever a David Arquette fan. I somewhat liked him as Deputy Dewey in Scream, but I never really got his humor. But I love Scott Conn. I think he's a really good actor. I think he's very believable as an actor. But this is just a fun movie to watch because it dealt with like WCW, and like their favorite wrestler was played by Oliver Platt, who's absolute, like, he's not in shape at all. Like, it's kind of funny. It kind of reminds you of Mankind a little bit, or Mick Foley, and how he's effective as a wrestler. But it's not a great movie again, but it's fun to watch if you want to see some old school like wrestlers. And the sad thing is about watching this movie, if you grew up in the 90s, a lot of these wrestlers in this movie, like a lot of them died. And it's mainly because of substance abuse and, you know, overdosing on antidepressants or overdosing on pain and stuff like that, like painkillers. So, like, it's kind of sad to watch this movie. But just because you see a lot of people in this movie have died, some even commit suicide. So, like, that's kind of sad to see them. But it is a fun movie to watch. But, again, it's not a great movie. But I enjoyed it. Give that a solid C. And the last one I got to talk about, I remember my neighbors and I, we went and saw this movie, like right when it came out, and I absolutely just love this movie. And I had to see it because Keno from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 was in it, and he plays like the main character in this movie. He's like a big-time surfer and also a ninja. And they go against this bad guy who's Leslie Nielsen, which I thought was great. And he was very freaky in this movie. And Rob Schneider was like, he was kind of a goofball in this movie. He was like, Moto Surf! And I just love that movie. And, you know, like, you never see Keno in anything anymore. The character right here. I think his name was Ernie Reyes Jr., and, like, you just never see him in anything else. But I love this movie. It's actually not a terrible movie. CGI is kind of weird. But, you know, I did really like this movie. And I must say that I remember this movie was so cool because when I was a kid, I had a Game Gear. Do you remember Game Gear was the long, rectangular, black piece of equipment that you could play like games on and stuff like that, like on the go. You could play it in your car. This was like before everyone had like the Nintendo DS and all the handheld stuff. Like, that's what I had. I loved it. And the little boy right here played the Game Gear all the time. And I was like, that's awesome, because like I had Game Gear too. So I just really love that movie, and the acting's not good. It's a solid B-, C+. But it's a fun movie to watch, and it takes you back to being a kid again. So if you were born in the 80s, grew up 90s. So I loved it. It's fun to watch. Not a great movie, but fun to watch. So that does it for I believe my May 8th Blu-ray update. Yeah, May 8th, Friday, May 8th. I'm gonna probably start getting some more movies in the near future. I definitely want to pick up some movies that are going to be coming out within the next couple weeks. So I might just do a smaller video. I know I kind of went long on this. I'd like to try to split the time for the next time. But definitely keep watching, and please tell others and get them to subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Rocco, you have anything to say? No, he can't talk. So until next time, you take it easy and keep